Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the Triple Coverage Podcast. We're rolling it over to double coverage tonight with just Benjamin Shoop and Lance Nelson here for you on a nice toasty Thursday on the 4th of July weekend. So first and foremost, happy 4th of July, happy Independence Day to everyone out there, and hope you stay safe and have a great family-oriented holiday weekend or whatever your plans are. Hope that you don't blow a finger off. Like, who was that lineman from the Giants? Pierre Paul, was that?
Yeah, JPP. Good old
Jeez.
JPP.
Don't pull a JPP this weekend, folks, would you? So, yeah, Ben, what's up, Shoop?
Oh, nothing much. It is finally the month where we will be able to see football again. So it's again getting closer. We've been talking the past few weeks about how it's just you're getting that itch to kind of get back into it. Even when you just watch highlights and everything, you're just like, oh, I just can't wait. And it's finally the month where we will see some live football, even though it's not meaningful football at that point. We'll still see some football. We'll be able to see, we're about, three weeks out right now from the start of training camp for the Bills. So we will be able to see some content this month of the Bills back in action, some of the new guys, some of the returning guys, some new faces as well that are just veterans coming over. So excited, ready to go, and just can't wait for the next month to get going here.
Yeah, just fly it right by. Get us out there. Now, it's going to be exciting, and the group we're going to talk about, the pass catchers tonight, is really one of the groups that I'm most excited to get my eyes on, obviously, at camp, right? So, like, Josh Allen, going to throw the ball about 500 times, you figure, in a year, and we'll talk about, how much we think he's going to throw, and then you have running backs, tight ends, wide receivers. We're going to talk about the wide receiver and tight end position mostly. Hey, Mom, go Bills. And we'll kind of give our thoughts on what's going to go down. We did just want to touch on quickly, I guess, as a quick thought, as we normally do to start our show, is Max Harrison was named in a civil suit, and I guess this isn't really new news. It was something that has already happened and been out there, and now some legal proceedings have been filed and things naming him. And for me, I'm just going to roll on with innocent until proven guilty as far as that goes, and there's no real criminal investigation going on here. So hopefully, the biggest thing I take out of that is hopefully no disciplinary action. If that KC receiver, was it
Rice,
yeah, doesn't get punished. I hope that Hairston doesn't miss any time for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that, especially with the Bills, obviously they had the Matt Araiza situation happen, when they drafted him. So you kind of know that, especially with this regime, hopefully they lived and, they learned about it and they got better with it when it comes to Max here. And it sounds like they did their research, they did their homework, they investigated, and, it was something that happened reportedly in 2021. The school, I think, even investigated at the time, and police investigated a little bit, had found nothing. So we'll see what happens. I don't think anything will really come of it. I mean, even, Max is still posting on Instagram and everything a ton. And, usually when something is serious when it's coming out of it, or if they feel like, just lay low for a little bit, that would be a situation where they would tell him. So to me, I don't think anything will come of it. Obviously, you're hoping it doesn't, but yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's, as of now, not worried about it, and don't think anything will really come of it.
Right on. I echo those sentiments. I think wish it never happened, obviously, or anything like that, but moving forward. So please like and share this episode with your friends. Give us a like over on YouTube. Get in the comments on YouTube or Facebook. If you're over there on X, join us over on one of the other platforms of YouTube and Facebook so we can interact with you. We have a pretty loose show, or a pretty loose off-season template here, so we can throw in more comments and kind of get into some things, whereas in the season we kind of have more regimented topics that we maybe spend less time on some of the interaction and comments during the season when we're covering recaps and previews and that sort of thing. But yeah, would love to have you comment on our show here. And again, please subscribe to that Built in Buffalo YouTube channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get notified when we go live. Thank you to Buffalo Bills Sports Memorial, see below me, and Monster Energy, the official energy partner of Built in Buffalo, for sponsoring this brand and this show. Well, John, so I know it's a sensitive subject. Maybe we should have planned on this and didn't, but he does bring up a quick thought point here that we could get into. Ben and I are season ticket holders, so we don't really have to enter the lottery for the general public. I was able to get tickets through my season ticket member privilege, and was able to get some for a friend of mine as well. So we're allotted 6 tickets per season ticket holder, I believe. So I didn't have to enter the lottery. The people I know that did enter the lottery did not get selected, and tough. That training camp's tough, man. The coolest thing that we talked about 2 weeks ago, now we were off last week, is this team is so damn popular. Like, these guys are so popular with this community that training camps are being sold at practices. Like, you can't even go bring your kid to watch a practice. It speaks to the popularity of Josh Allen, speaks to popularity for the Buffalo Bills, I think. And it's really cool to see, kind of cool to be a part of this. What do you think about that whole training camp thing? I know we talked a little bit about it a couple weeks ago, but did you know people that entered the lottery? Anybody got in, or?
Well, so I do know my girlfriend, me, and my mom did enter the lottery. Even though me and my mom are ticket holders, we thought, why not at least still try, see if we can get some extra tickets there. None of us got them, so that will again put it out there. I actually don't know a single person that said they did win the lottery. That's the funny part, is everybody I saw everybody saying they didn't get it, but I didn't see anybody saying, oh, I did win it. So it stinks that they have to do a lottery just because it is that popular, but it's awesome that it is that popular, that so many people want to go. And I know it's been an issue for a few years about people being able to go, certain amounts of tickets you can get, everything like that. So it stinks for a lot of people that unfortunately won't be able to go, and it stinks they have to do it that way. But yeah, it is awesome just being able to go and being able to see these guys that up close and personal, and kind of get a feel of what a practice is like. And I know that you've heard some older NFL players saying, well, training camps aren't the same as it was 10 years ago when they were doing 2-a-days, and they're not as intense. So it's more of like a mental thing for players, but more than physical, because it's more of just, you're getting the playbook down, you're around all your teammates, you're trying to get everything down. So it is nice to be able to, though, see these guys come in and see how they work and how they react to different situations when guys get beat, and just even, messing around, having fun with each other too. So it's awesome. I mean, we talked about it, 2 weeks ago a little bit, but it's just one of those things that training camp is, if you ever do get the pleasure to go, really just live it up and stay as long as you can, and take everything in, get there as early as you can too, because it is an awesome thing to do and an awesome place to go. So unfortunate that they have to do the lottery, but when you have this many people that want to go, it's something that they have to do.
Yeah, it legit gets crazy cramped there. It's when they haven't capped it in previous years as much, or had as much control on it. I feel like it's been really nuts at St. John Fisher. Bench, the whole stands fill up, and there's just really nowhere to go for some people that maybe aren't familiar with it, or just there kind of trying to figure it out. And it can get overwhelming pretty quick for people. The heat usually is there, so you just got to be safe about it. Bring water, know how to seek shelter, and get enough shade for yourself when you go. So yeah, I hope that John, that you were able to get some tickets for yourself there as well, and I'll be there. I'm trying to recruit Ben to come with me, but we'll see about it. July 24th, I'll be there on site, and then we'll have a show the night July 24th there right after that to talk about how camp is going. So I'm very excited for that show in 3 weeks, when we can get out there, get our eyes on players. And really the cool thing is to see, I will mention this till the day I die, probably. It's something I just have such ingrained in my memory now, where Mack Hollins, a new player on the Bills last year, comes into training camp really pressing Christian Benford, and then Benford ends up, after an out route where Hollins smoked him, he turns around and throws the ball at Hollins and stuff. So that's sort of the mental game too, that you have that competitiveness, and the veterans are able to really, bring some of these young guys along with some mental toughness things and stuff like that. That's really fun to see for me. I really like seeing like how people interact and just how things are jiving with the group too. Obviously, offense, defense is a little bit separated during these group activities, but it is fun to see how some of the receivers and DBs react with one another and all that sort of thing. So it's a really cool time and good time to see get a first look at the team, obviously. So moving on now. I mentioned before, there's going to be. Well, I'll ask you this, Ben. Do you think there's going to be over or under 500 targets for Bills pass catchers this season? Because last year was a 495. They really stuck to a sort of run balanced offense, and I would sort of expect more of the same. But I want to see where you're at on that 500 kind of, I guess pass attempts. I'm not sure if every pass attempt got a target, but what do you think about that number and what the Bills will do in 2025?
Yeah, I think 500 is the. I mean, when you especially look at the past, even 6 years for Josh Allen, at least he's been 483, 579, 567, 646, 572, and 461. 500, I think, would be the expectations for this offense, even though they are kind of leaning towards that more run heavier offense.
I didn't want to say run heavy. Run balanced.
Run balanced, yes. Run balanced offense. I don't think that they'll reach the numbers they were during that 3-4 year stretch where they're hitting 579, 567, 646, 572. I think, at most they might hit that 550 or 525 mark, 550 mark at the most. So I think 500 is a pretty fair number just because, again, unless teams really start kind of zoning in on the run against the Bills, which I think would be a mistake because then you're just opening everything else up for Josh Allen with his arm. Then they're going to have some issues there. So I do think, 500 is probably the mark that they'll hit, maybe a little bit over it. But if they go under, I wouldn't imagine it being well under. I think it would be, like we said, that like last year where it's 495, with Josh 480 at the lowest. So, I think 500 is that good benchmark kind of number for them and pretty much what they'll hit. Because again, at the end of the day, it's the NFL, and when you're in close games, which I don't think the Bills will have as many blowouts this year as they did last year. Just because I think the schedule is a little tough here. I think, they'll have to throw the ball a little bit more, and especially maybe early in the season with some of the tougher matchups. The Ravens, and then you have Kansas City still, and Philly. If you go down the line, they have some tough teams. So, I would say 500 is a pretty good number.
Right on. I'm torn. They play a lot of home games earlier in the year where this weather may not limit them so much. They have the late game against Philadelphia, obviously, and a couple other late games. But I think there's like December 7th and then like late December, and then it'll be like the last game of the year. So you got versus Cincinnati on December 7th, which is like iffy in Buffalo, but probably not going to be like super snowy or terribly cold. Then you have the December 28th and week 18 game that are probably going to be pretty cold, and we'll see what they do in those games against the Eagles and the Jets. But that being said, I think they have the opportunity this year to have a more increased. Now, weather in Buffalo is crazy. It could snow in October. We know that. But I really think that that they're going to go over the 500 mark, but I don't think it's going to be substantially over. I was somewhere between 500 and 550. I don't think they're getting near 600, but I do think they'll go over the 500 mark this year, just with the way the schedule plays out, the way I think that the weather in the stadiums that they're going to play in will allow them at least to try to do some more things. And I really expect some, different passing concepts that allow them to have the passing game be maybe a little bit more of an extension of the run game too, so that they're not so predictable. Because how often did they hand the ball off on first and second down last year? We talk about it all the time, right? And I just feel like we're not the only ones that hate that as much as we do. I think there's other folks out there. There's other, analytics and things saying like, okay, how successful was that? Now people are going to be keying on you in this year to do those things, are you going to change it up more? So I think the just change up from how much they did that last year on first and second down is going to give us a few more passing attempts from the Bills.
Yeah, and especially if they do this year look at those, like you said, the analytics and the numbers and the stats that back up even early down passing, it's beneficial to do so. And I think last year we talked about it a lot, and I got heated a lot during last year about the first down runs. And yes, some of them worked, but a lot of them, sometimes when they don't work, they can really set a drive back sometimes, especially if you're rolling. You get 1-2 first downs, then you decide to run it on first down, and boom, like the drive can stall out there. So I think if they do want to be a more efficient offense, I do think they need to pass the ball more, especially on those early downs. And I think when you have a guy like Josh Allen, you need to, now that you have receivers that I think maybe fit the mold of what Joe Brady wants to do, I think that you can more so, start to implement more passing plays and more concepts and get these guys on the same page, especially when you bring a guy like Josh Palmer in who can do a lot of things, Elijah Moore who can do a lot of things, and Samuel, who now hopefully is going to be healthy going into this year, Coleman going into his second year. So you have guys now that hopefully can take steps, and I'm more excited about this receiving corp than last year's. And I think it has to do with the fact that you can really line these guys up a lot of different areas. Even Coleman, who's a guy that a lot of people just look at as, outside, he'll be our outside threat, and that's it. And it's like, no, well, coming out of college, people thought he could be a power slot, and I think you'll see him a little bit lined up. Obviously, I don't think you'll see him lined up in the slot more than Shakir, even Palmer, or Samuel Moore, but I think you will see him moved around a little bit more than last year. So I'm excited to kind of see how they handle the passing game, and I do think they'll up it a little bit, because I think even last year there were some games where it felt like they didn't pass the ball at all, and even the targets too. We were talking about the targets and completions, and sometimes they just kind of strayed away from it because passing game wasn't working, especially early on in the year. So I think they will get.
We're not talking about 𝐼𝐸, the store. We're talking about passing targets to receivers. And look, the title of the show is Positionless Pass Catchers, right? So that goes to your point. They talked a lot about it in some of these press conferences throughout the offseason of like, hey, we're going to be multiple, we're going to be dynamic, we're going to keep you on your toes, we're not going to put a position to this player. He's a football player or he's a pass catcher, and that's what the title had paid homage to. Is this that philosophy here in Buffalo with Joe Brady and company is that these guys can line up in whatever position you want to call it, but they're just going to run their concepts out of those formations without whomever's up to play. They're going to go in and play those roles, and they'll mix and match where these guys go. Now, that doesn't say Shakir's not going to see a big-time slot role. He certainly is. He's most effective there, but he has the ability to play outside. He has, and we're going to touch on him a little bit in a little bit here. But Ben, why don't you run through exactly what we're going to go through here with the wide receiver room for now, and then we'll get into our scheduled content here. Unless you want to take Marianne first before we jump into that.
Yeah, before we jump in, we'll take this question from Marianne here, which is a good one, because I think a lot of people, especially a lot of Bills fans this year, have kind of been wondering why they let Mac go. He was a good locker room guy. I think, he exceeded what his expectations were for Bills fans, at least this past season. Goes to New England. I mean, my simple answer is, I think, one, I saw John allude to it a little bit, is they wanted to get younger, and Mac is getting a little bit older. And I think they did also just, want guys that can do a little bit of everything. Mac, as good as Mac was, and as great of the role he played, he really had his role, and that was it. Like, you couldn't really do a bunch with him. And I think when you bring the guys in that we're going to mention in a little bit, like we said, they can do a little bit of everything. So I just think, and I think maybe money was a part of it. I saw John mention that as well. He did get a pretty good deal there. And, maybe it was the fact that they didn't want to sign him to a 2-year deal. They wanted, we're going to do a 1-year deal if you're going to come back here. But I think, it just a different direction is not always the worst thing. Yeah, sometimes it can make you sad, and sometimes there's players that you really want. I would have loved Mac back. I was somebody that I think said, yeah, if you can bring him back, definitely bring him back. Great locker room guy, played his role well. But at the end of the day, there are better players, and I think a guy like Josh Palmer, which we'll get to as well, is a guy that I think is an upgrade. And when you can get an upgrade, you got to go and get it there. And I think it's just unfortunate how it happened to work out. Mac got what he wanted when it came to money, and going to a situation where maybe he does have a bigger role than he would have had here. So that's the way at least I look at it. What do you think?
Yeah, I look at it as they didn't let him go. I look at it as he chose the other offer, the other situation, the other place to play. He got an offer that he thought, both in opportunity and compensation, was better than the Bills could offer him, and he wanted to go chase that. It's pretty simple for me, is that I don't think the Bills necessarily wanted to lose him, but they also weren't going to go and kill their salary cap plans and things like that to retain him. So, you know, they made what they thought was a fair offer. They probably communicated to him what that offer went along with as far as a role on this team, and he saw kind of how that played out last year. Thought he had a pretty good role. I thought he did some good things. He scored 8 touchdowns, didn't he?
I have it right here. Yeah, Mac had 5.
Five touchdowns. So just like what's that?
Said felt like a bunch in the a couple in the playoffs, I believe, though. So.
Maybe all told. That's what I'm thinking. But yeah, 6 overall between regular season, postseason last year, but big time catches in some situations. So, felt like he was good. Obviously, for guys like Scott Casson, our co-host who's not able to be on tonight, and myself, were you there when he showed up at the tailgate or no? He showed up at the Big Tree Inn, and then we were doing the tailgate there. And so, yeah, you did show up that day, but, took a picture of him. You'll see the picture of Mac Hollins circulating with the snow sculpture of, him and Fred Flintstone garb. I took that picture. That's really cool to me. So, yeah, of course, I love that Mac Hollins would be on this team. It was a really cool experience for me, but also, I understand the business side of it too. And as cool of a guy as he was, barefoot in the slush and snow when he showed up there and all that allure, at the end of the day, he's human too. He's got a family to take care of and all that to think about. And I think, his opportunity with the Patriots was just a little bit more. Did he go to the Patriots, right? Yeah, with the Patriots was more than what the Bills could offer or were willing. So I don't think they let him go. I think that he chose his opportunity. And that's his prerogative. So that's good for him that he's going to get on somewhere else and hopefully wish him all the best, except for when he plays Buffalo.
Yeah, and he will be here this year, so we will get to see him again if you go to the game against New England in prime time too. So knowing him, he'll find a way in the end zone in Buffalo, and I think he'll have some fun with it for sure. Just knowing him and being the good locker room guy he is. But but on to Bills receivers they do have this year. I kind of put them into 4 groups here, and I know Lance, you see it here, but I kind of put them into 4 groups. The first group is the roster locks that are returning, and that's for me Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman, right? Those two, I think, without a doubt. Obviously, your former rookie from last year, and then Khalil Shakir, who just got an extension, and then there's the roster locks that are new, and to me, that's only one guy for me right now. That's Josh Palmer, and then there's 2 that are likely to make the team, but not guaranteed. And to me, that's Curtis Samuel and Elijah Moore. Curtis Samuel obviously had the injury last year, a lot of higher expectations than what he lived up to. And Elijah Moore comes out over now with a 1-year deal, first opportunity to kind of get with a real quarterback here. So I do think they're both likely, but not guaranteed at all. And then there's the bubble guys, which there's 5 of them here that I think there's some that have better chances, but that's Shavers, Chenault, Virgil, Prather, the rookie, and then KJ Hamler as well. Those guys are kind of on the bubble looking in. It depends on how many guys they keep. Do they keep 6? If they do keep 6, to me, we'll see if those are any of those guys that are looking to make that roster here. So first, I talked about the likely but not guaranteed there of those 2 of Samuel and Moore, which kind of brings me to the first question we have here. Will there be a surprise cut? I mean, those are kind of the 2 we're alluding to, but out of the receiving room, who do you think could be cut, and do you think any of them will actually happen?
When they first signed Elijah Moore, I kind of thought that he was like, tryout basis and things. But as time's gone on, I kind of feel like maybe he's actually more of a lock than I originally thought, and that Curtis Samuel might be that guy that could be the surprise cut. I think his the better out for him is next year. I think that because of the money, he does make the team. But if there was a surprise cut or there was any sort of, look, we don't know what sort of injuries are going to pop up between now and cut day. So that's going to play a factor. If I had to guess, if it's between, Samuel and Moore, and you're making me flip a coin or choose one of the two, I almost think I'd more bet on Curtis Samuel being a surprise cut over Elijah Moore, I think. But again, the injury aspect of things, the health, that's really going to play a part in, who makes this team. I think ultimately those, as they say, these things shake themselves out as time goes on. And I think injuries are really the reason for that. But overall, I like Samuel and Moore both being on this team. But if one of them were to get cut, I would almost think that Samuel would be the one, just because they've seen a lot of what he could do last year. And if he's not able to really stay healthy again or whatnot, I would think it'd be a health situation that as to why one of them would get cut.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on this one, just because, again, with Samuel, if he does get hurt and they have to make a tough decision, you eat the money this year and then you don't have to worry about it going into next year. And at that point, you're free of the money, and yeah, it would stink. But again, I don't think either of these guys get cut. I do think, like I said, I have them in the likely but not guaranteed. And guess, again, something happens with either of them. I do think both of them are going to make this team, just because I think Moore will come in and impress. And then Samuel, I think they liked what he started to look like at the end of the year. And I think, again, they had high expectations for him. I think they wanted to use him a lot more last year. It's just he started off the year with the injury and just never really found his way towards kind of the end of the year, where he started to kind of find it a little bit. But I mean, last year he ended up with, where is he in the stats? He ended up with 46 targets, 31 receptions. So he had the same amount of receptions as Matt Collins, which does not seem like it. When you were watching the games, it did not seem like it. Had about 100 less yards, so that's part of it that doesn't help as well. Didn't mind the end zone, except for the one game where we found it. So he only had one touchdown. So I do think they keep him, but yeah, again, it wasn't as exciting as people thought it would be with him last year. And I think a lot of that had to do with injury. So if they do have to decide between Samuel or Moore, I do think they will go with Samuel, because again, you get a guy with like Moore that can come in and he's produced with very poor quarterback play, and a former first-round pick, a guy who coming out of college was very high on a lot of people's boards. A lot of people were very high on him. And I do think he's still got some left there. And if you can get what you can out of him for a year, I think the Bills are going to go ahead and do that. So, yeah, I think both of them do make it. But if you had to choose, I think Samuel is the more likely cut. So I agree with you there. And I do see some comments here. Tiffany brought up Shavers. Shavers there is the guy who last year had one reception, one target, 69 yards, one touchdown. So
any relation, Tiffany? You got Shavers in your name, so yeah, I don't know.
If there is any relation, let us know. But
yeah. Love to have him on the show.
I do think he's a fan favorite. I know, John, you love him as well. Yeah, John even said here, I like Shavers better as the sixth receiver. A lot of people love Shavers. I like him too, because he also can do a little bit on special teams as well. So he brings something that I think some receivers don't. I don't think Samuel or Moore or Palmer or Shakir, they're not going to play special teams. So if you can keep a guy as your sixth receiver that can also play special teams, it's going to be tough, because him, Shenault are the two that I was going to bring up here. Is I know there's the other guys in the bubble with Virgil, Pratt, or Hamler. I think for us, at least for me, Hamler I see getting cut. Virgil I see getting cut. Prather I think will just end up being a practice squad guy this year. I just don't see him, unless he really performs. I don't think that he'll end up making this squad. So I think if they keep six, which I do think they'll do, I know we're going to get that a little later, I do think they will keep six. I think it will be between Shavers and Shenault. So what do both of them have to do to make this roster, this final 53? Because you know that they liked Shavers last year, especially with the fact that they weren't willing to let him go and put him on waivers or anything. They kept him the entire year. They did bring him up. He had a big play in that game against the Jets. So what do you think between both of them, Shenault and Shavers? What do you think they both have to do to make this roster?
Chenault's got to be a big special teams presence, maybe earn the return role to make this team. Shavers has to just be him. Shavers showed a little bit last year. We saw it. We keep seeing one of those guys they're bringing along with this youth movement they're having. I would love to see Tyrell Shavers make this team. straight out. And I hope that it's not because this guy's injured or whatever, and he's got to go, and then he's going to make it and go to the practice squad later in the year. Whatever role they do find for him. But I think that he can be a contributor here in Buffalo. Shenault is just I like the player. I liked the idea of the player throughout his career, and maybe just hasn't really amassed the production level that one would kind of think when you talk about Shenault. The idea of him is exciting, but again, I don't know. Again, this is going to be the exciting thing about going to training camp and watching this position group. I want to see how he's looking, what sort of things they're doing with him, what routes are they having him run and things like that. Because I think outside of special teams, I'm not sure he has a chance to really do much here in Buffalo, honestly. But would be happy to be wrong if he did find a role and was able to maybe do both, maybe help in the return games as well as contribute on offense. I really want the returner this year to not be 𝐃𝐨𝐬𝐿. So if someone else can actually play receiver or play a position on the field and not just be a returner, that interests me. But I just don't know if Shenault is going to be that guy or not. And I would say Shavers has a nice path, has that consistency, continuity with this staff and the players here and all that might give him the edge.
Yeah, the thing with Shenault that's tough for him is, and I see John even comment here, is you already have 𝐸𝐿, who you mentioned, who was very good as a returner last year. He was around.
He's not bad as a returner. It's just he doesn't. What else can he do?
So if they're really
I love that you can return, but what else are you gonna do?
If they're really dead set on keeping somebody for their return ability, it's gonna be tough to beat out 𝐃𝐨𝐿 if you're Shenault. If that's all they're looking for is just one guy to be a returner,
right?
It's going to be tough. Like Shenault, yeah, he had a good year returning in the past, and he's had the history, but 𝐃𝐨𝐿 again was a guy that they look at and they say this guy can be an elite returner in this league. And then you do have Elijah Moore as well, who has a past of being able to return punts and being able to return. So for Shenault, it's like, where does he fit in here? And again, if they decide to keep both and they decide to go, hey, we're going to go with both and get rid of Samuel's contract now, that's something that I could also see happening. But yeah, I mean, you already know. I mean, you saw it out of training camp last year, in the preseason last year. They were raving about Shavers, that not just his ability on special teams, but his ability to be able to receive the ball. You saw it. They put the ball in his hand one time.
His auntie's watching, so make sure you're nice.
Well, you saw it. They put the ball in his hand one time last year, and he took it the distance. Like,
yep.
It's just, I think it's tough to look at that and say, well, no, we can't. We're not going to give him more of a look here. We're going to go elsewhere for just a returner. Like that to me, and that they covered their guys that can also play special teams, not just as a returner, that can go down and they'll make plays in the return team as well. So for me, if they're going to keep 6, I'm leaning Shavers just because, again, Shenault, he's been in the league for a while, and as a receiver, he hasn't been able to show much. And it's like, how much more can you unlock here? And they raved about him last year with Shavers' ability to be able to improve and just learn. And now going into another year where he's been with the team the whole year, he has chemistry with Josh Allen from practices. Like, I just don't see really a route for Shenault. And I know Scott is a big Shenault fan, just being a return guy, and he has high expectations there. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe they do end up looking at both and saying, hey, we're going to go keep both and we're going to get rid of Moore or Samuel instead, or Moore instead. That could be a route, but I do think they keep 6, and it'll be tough to see for them to say, hey, yeah, we're going to keep Shenault just because he can return, when they traded for 𝐃𝐨𝐿 last year, who was good last year as a returner, and you have other guys that can go back there and return if you need it to. Like, I just don't see Shenault making his way to this roster. So it's going to be a battle. And that's again, we've been alluding to training camp. This training camp is going to be fun watching this wide receiver battle towards that, like in that 5-6 spot, because again, who knows if somebody makes a jump? Maybe one of them come out and make a jump to say, hey, no, I'm going to be the 4th option. I'm going to jump both Samuel and Moore and be that 4th option, right? So it's going to be fun to watch at training camp. I'm excited to see these two go at it, because that these two are going to be the guys that are going to be fighting for their spot here. And one, especially, I think these two could be two guys that, especially when it gets to the the show that they're doing that I can't, Hard Knocks, I think they could kind of zone in on both of these guys. And Shaver's already kind of a fan favorite to a lot of guys because of what he's done in that with the one time he got the ball. And I think when you go on Hard Knocks, they could kind of even hammer that of being like, oh, this guy, he's already a guy that people love in Buffalo, and he exceeded expectations last year. Can he do it again? And
dude, 100% touchdown rate, 1 target, 1 reception, 69 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah,
that's incredible stuff. I mean, his analytics on that is just amazing.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, we'll see. It's going to be a battle between those two guys, and yeah, as Tiffany said, yeah, it's going to be a battle. Who doesn't love a battle, right? Who doesn't love it? And we'll see what goes on there.
We are rooting for Tyrell, like we said too. So I mean,
yeah,
if you're out at training camp, check me. I'll be wearing this on July 24th. My uncle's in the chat. He loves this. Says I'm styling. I mean, Ben, you got to get. I mean, I think we should wear matching 𝐬𝐫𝐽 shirts.
I don't know
you can also get one from.
That's
you don't know. We can also go to our partner Buffalo Go. They have a nice golf shirt that's 𝐬𝐫𝐽's as well. My wife bought me this shirt, I think, from the BFLO store. So it's perfect for hot weather. Honestly, nice and cool. So I have to try to get you into one.
Yeah, we'll see. But on to the next topic here, which is another fun one here for the receivers. Is a guy that I think last year fans still have mixed emotions about him. Obviously, the Bills traded out and went and got him last year in the first pick of the second round. But Keon Coleman's going into his second year, showed flashes of being that guy that can go get the ball. He's still got athleticism. I guess, Brandon Beane was very critical of him at the end of the last season. And they said, he took that to heart and really is coming in now and with a vengeance here. So what are you kind of expecting out of Keon Coleman in year 2?
Yeah, had some injuries last year, right? And hopefully it certainly looks like he's got his body right from what you see so far. 13 games last year, so hopefully gets upwards of 17 games in this regular season. And I think you're in that mid 40s receptions, right? You had 57 targets last year, 29 catches. I'm in that, get him between 60 and 70 targets at least, and you want to see 40 to 45 catches. He said he thought he could go for 1,000 last year. I mean, I know these guys are uber confident in their abilities, and that's great. If he hits 800, that would be sick. I mean, he's at 556, so I don't know. Like, I don't think he needs to blow the doors off of everything and like turn into some like 80 catch, 1,000, 1,200 yard receiver or anything. I don't really know if this offense is built to have a guy like that unless his name's Khalil Shakir. But I don't know, 40 to 50 catches for around 800 yards and see if he can get towards 8 touchdowns. That'd be nice.
Yeah, see, for me, it's like you had that under 50% catch rate when it came to your targets, but even when he caught the ball, he made plays. He averaged 19.2 yards per reception.
Seems one like other Bills player is pretty dangerous. He can kind of use that slant route and really he had that one long touchdown on the slant, I believe. So, that if he can be consistent with that, that's pretty dangerous.
Well, it's also, he 1 out of almost every 7 catches he was in the end zone. Like that is something that you should be able to utilize going into year 2 now and say, hey, when you're averaging 19.2 yards per reception, he should be that deep threat, that guy that you can just throw it up to. Now, he's not going to burn you with speed, but he's going to be a guy that will outmuscle you. He'll box you out and go up and get it. And you saw even, the one touchdown, I'm forgetting who it was against, but Josh was running around and he even pointed back and Coleman's running back and forth and he just went up and got it over 2 guys. So he has the ability. It's just about putting it all together. And John came in here and he's saying how, 10 more pounds of muscle. If you can get your route running better, which that it's not going to get worse. It's like it's going into year 2. He's been working on it here. So I'm excited for Coleman just in that aspect of no other Bill besides Ty Johnson was over 15 yards per reception last year. And he's almost 5 yards more than everybody else. And it's a guy that's why you drafted him, to be able to be a guy that can make big plays. And I think he can be this year, and I think he can reach double-digit touchdowns. Now, for me, if he gets 700 yards, 800 yards, that's great. But if he still puts up 600 yards, but he reaches double-digit touchdowns, to me, that's phenomenal. I mean, if you can take Mack Hollins' touchdowns and give it to him, I mean, I think that Coleman can be in that spot this year where you see those posts and you see those slants where Josh just hits them over the middle and he's muscling guys. I think that he can be that guy. So I have pretty lofty expectations for Coleman this year, or at least when it comes to in the red zone. I think they'll look at his way, and you've already seen it this year. I mean, they did it against Seattle. They went back-to-back plays where they just threw it up to him. And Josh is going to be looking to do that more this year, and maybe not a ton more, but at least a little bit more going into a second year. So Keon Coleman, I'm excited to see him this year. I don't know if he'll necessarily light the league on fire and put up 1,000 yards and get 80 catches, like you said. But yeah, if he can put up a 600 to 800 yard season, but he can get 8 to 10 touchdowns, that's a successful year too. And that's the jump that I think Bills fans would be looking for. So, yeah, Keon Coleman, I think, has some pretty high expectations going into year two. And, that's kind of how it always is with rookies coming into their second year. They have higher expectations. And, yeah, we'll see if he can live up to them. Another guy with pretty lofty expectations this year just got paid. Khalil Shakir last year only had 821 yards, which did lead the Bills by almost 300 yards. He had 76 receptions on 100 targets, 4 touchdowns. Can he live up to the hype that a lot of Bills fans, even just a lot of NFL fans in general, have around him? A lot of people know that he's underrated. A lot of people know he kind of flies under the radar. Do you think he can reach that 1K mark? And do you think he can solidify himself around the league as a wide receiver one for Khalil Shakir, for Josh Allen? What do you think?
It's not just local fans either. It's not just sort of fans in general. Ben Solak just ranked him the best draft pick at 148 in the history of the NFL draft. The best draft pick at his draft position ever. And he's 3 years in the league. That's incredible to me. I was very surprised. Him and Christian Benford, both in that same draft, late round picks there, were ranked as the best picks in the history of the NFL at those slots. That is pretty good praise for the guy. I think that Khalil Shakir has earned that praise as well. And also, I do think he's going to go over 1,000. I think he's have that, getting towards that 100 catch, 1,000 plus yards. I don't know how the touchdowns work out. I don't think he's necessarily going to get 10 touchdowns. That number one wide receiver, when I think of it, it's 100 catches, 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns sort of line. Would love to see it. Touchdowns are tough. The way this team plays in the red zone and things, we'll see how their style kind of allows him to score. But I do think the approaching of 100 receptions this year will be there because of his catch rate being so high, and then also breaking 1,000 yards. I think he's going upwards of 1,200, maybe 1,300 this year.
Yeah, I think 1,000 should be the mark for him that you're looking to get, especially for the Bills. Like, if you're just even Joe Brady, you should be looking to get this guy. He had 100 targets last year. I don't necessarily think he'll skyrocket above that. I don't think he'll be at 150, 140. But if you can get him 110, 120 targets, he'll get at least close to 100. And he doesn't need 100 receptions, I think, to get that 1,000 yards. So I do think, you just paid him that money. You just kind of solidified and said, hey, no, you're going to be a part of this team. You're going to be Josh Allen's go-to guy. And yeah, like you said, the touchdowns may not come. But that's, again, they like to run the ball once they get in the red zone. They have a guy that they have literally a unicorn at quarterback that can hurdle people into the end zone. So, you don't have to throw the ball when you get down that close. So, yeah, the touchdowns may stay around that 4, 5, 6 mark. But if you can get 1,000 yards and 90 receptions, I think you solidify yourself as a go-to guy in this league. And we looked at that contract as a steal, and even if he puts up what he did last year, that still makes it look phenomenal. But I do think he reaches 1,000 yards. Now, does he get towards that 1,300 yard, 1,200 yard mark? He could. I could easily see it. But we'll see if he can get that amount of targets and that amount of work to be able to grow to get to that point. But I do think easily he'll get that get to that 1,000 yards. So yeah, I mean, we went over some of the marks here with the receivers. We didn't really go too much over Palmer or Moore or Samuel, which we've talked a lot kind of in the past about those three guys, because Samuel, what his expectations are going into this year, Moore and Palmer as well. So I think as we get into camp and everything and how they're going to use them, we'll get more into them. So that's going to do it for the receiver part, but we do have still the tight ends to talk about. So go ahead, Lance.
Yeah, so returning tight ends, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, right? Zach Davidson is back. And then you have a tight end 3 battle here because Jackson Hawes, a big old tight end drafted in the later rounds by the Bills, will challenge the philosophy of this offense. What do they really want to do? Now, if one of those two accepts a practice squad role, they can mix and match it and elevate when they need to. They may be able to try to play Russian roulette with that to see if someone gets taken off the practice squad or not. But those are the 3. Those are the 4 guys in the mix, and really 3 are expected to be kept here. Let's talk a little bit about the tight end 3 battle first, and then we'll get into Dalton Kincaid, because we absolutely have to talk about him when we're talking about tight ends. What do you think the philosophy, or do you think who they keep here is going to depend on the philosophy moving forward for the season? As far as we talked about, I called a run balance approach in this offense. That lends itself to Jackson Hawes being kept here in that TE3 battle if he can do enough in the passing game to at least not be ignored. Because Zach Davidson has a prowess in the passing game, but maybe leaves a bit to be desired helping out in the run. What do you think that their choice with this tight end 3 pick is going to be more dependent upon that run balanced philosophy, or do you think it's just going to be, the better player? And I guess I don't know how the 2 are different, but I want to get your opinion on that whole, like, how the T3 battle kind of tells you something about what the Bills want to do this year on offense.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. I think it's going to be tough for a guy like Zach Davidson to beat out Jackson Hawes for this third round, or for this third tight end 3 position. One, obviously, they spent a draft pick on Jackson Hawes, and they even kind of raved about him so far in the limited time they've seen him, of, hey, yeah, he out of the draft was supposed to be this guy that's big blocker, will run you over, which when you're talking about the run game will be very useful. But then they started talking about him how, oh, well, even though it's still early, he's already impressing with how he moves and catches the ball and comes in and out of breaks, which you won't see a lot of it from the tight end 3 from the Bills anyways. I think you see maybe 8 to 10 targets from the tight end 3 a year, maybe at the most. So I do think the philosophy will be get the better blocker, just because when they do like to get those big boys out there, they will bring a guy out there that will be able to block. And I think it will be tough for Zach Davidson, who, I think a lot of Bills fans like Zach Davidson. And last year, I know a lot of people were kind of saying, hey, he should make it over Quentin Morris, and ended up not making it over Quentin Morris. But it's just going to be tough for him to beat him out, because Jackson Hawes is going to come in and be that guy. It's going to be hard to beat him as a blocker, because that's his thing. That's the reason you drafted him, is because he's a guy that will come and he will run you over. He will put his head down and he will make you not want to play the game of football as a defender, right? So I think, yeah, it might allude to, if they do keep Davidson, yeah, that might then raise questions like, oh, well, they are going in a direction of, hey, we just want a guy that will be able to go out there and maybe be a little bit of a better receiver, and we don't care too much about blocking, because they do bring in that 6th lineman a lot. But when you have a guy like Kincaid, who isn't the best blocker, no, he's not the worst blocker in the world, but he's not the best blocker for a tight end position either. If you can then run Knox and Jackson Hawes out there and then still get a third lineman out there, I mean, that's gonna be a force there, because you have guys that then can just block and run guys over. So, if you can put an extra lineman and Jackson Hawes on one side of the line, I mean, what are you gonna do there? Because it's gonna get run over by guys that want to run you over and do it for a living and are going out there looking to make you not want to play the game of football. So, yeah, tight end 3 battle. I think it, as much as I hate to say it, I think it pretty much already decided, at least in my head, where I think it's going to be Jackson Hawes. And, you spent draft pick on him. Are you going to risk losing him? That's going to be tough to put that out there if you are going to put him on practice squad and risk losing him.
Yeah, I agree. Hawes would be my pick, hands down here with this battle. Get those big guys, Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown, some help there on the, sealing up those edges. I think that'd be pretty in line with what this regime wants to accomplish in this offense. All right. Dalton Kincaid, year 3 expectations. Can he live up to them? I guess, what are your expectations for Dalton Kincaid? And, I think people expect big things from him, but, what does that really mean to you? And how close to those expectations do you think he'll get?
It's tough because I think it also is dependent on Josh Allen. I mean, when you look at last year, yeah, you can say Kincaid didn't live up to expectations, which he didn't, and he had a rough year. But there was also there was not a single player in the NFL that had a higher missed pass rate than Dalton Kincaid, I believe. Like, Josh Allen missed him wide open a lot. And yeah, Kincaid had a lot of drops that he should have made, and he didn't make as many plays as he should have made. So as much as, yes, Kincaid needs to be better than he was last year, it's also dependent on, can Josh Allen hit him more? Can they get on the same page more? That's really it. So for me, I'm looking for him just to be on the same page as Allen more. Like, last year he had 6 drops. In his rookie year, he had 4. If you're in that 4 or 5 range of drops, obviously it's not, you don't want to hear that, but if you're in that range, but Josh Allen can hit you 10 more times, and instead of 44 receptions on 75 targets, you get 50 or 60 receptions on 90 targets, or 65 on 90. That is an improvement, and that's something I think Bills fans would see. So for me, my expectations, I do think he'll get back to that 90 target, 80 to 90 target range. I mean, he had 75 and he only played 13 games, started 9 of them. So he only had a 16 target drop off from his rookie year, and his rookie year he played all 16 games. So my expectations are that 700-yard mark for 70 to 80 receptions. Obviously, it will be dependent on his target range. So I think his target range, which we'll talk about in a little bit, will be back to that round 80, 90. If you get to 100, I'll be a fan of it, because I do think he is a guy that can be a reliable target for Allen. Now, he's not going to be a guy that might have 100 targets and 100 or 1,000 yards. But if you can get 100, even 90 targets and 700 yards, that's good, because that means he's just catching the ball and doing his job and getting those 5-6 yards that are those tough yards. So that's for me, the expectations is to get in that 700-yard mark again. If he can get higher, I'd absolutely love that. But just be a reliable target. His catch rate last year, which don't even have right here in front of me. I just had it. Where is it here? His catch rate for Dalton Kincaid was 58%. If you can get that up to 70, that's perfect for me. Even 80, that would be unbelievable. So it's just, it's a shame kind of how I think some people looked at it last year. And it just comes with, I think, like part of what Steve said here. He was just the last chance guy, and a lot of bad moments that Josh relied on. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. And a lot of times it didn't last year, and he battled injuries and he had a rough year, but I think he'll bounce back and get back to that 70-75% catch rate. And if he does that, then he'll be in the top 10 tight ends in the league, back in that conversation.
Yeah, I'm a little bit torn, but I do think that what you said was pretty spot on as far as Dalton Kincaid. He definitely needs that Josh Allen to have his back, so to speak. You mentioned not so many drops, but there's a big discrepancy between targets and receptions, and the amount of times that he was open. And I think Joe Marino did a really good job on the Locked On podcast talking about this a lot last year. That missed throw rate from Josh Allen to Dalton Kincaid led the league for most of the year. I think it ended up leading the league, and it just, the injury to Kincaid as well that people are saying here in the comments as well that I brought up when you first started on it is, how many games will he appear in? Is he going to sit there and be there for all 17 games or not? He plays very physical, but his body type needs to develop more to support that physical play. He's not afraid to put his head down and run into people, but guys that do that also, get beat up pretty quickly, and concussions become an issue, or shoulders and things like that. So you do have to really hope that, his body's going to be in the right shape to start this year, and that he can sort of learn to protect himself a little bit more while maintaining that edge. So I do expect an uptick. I expect Allen to be more in sync with him. I expect him to overall just be a better player, be more available, and have more success when it comes down to it. So I'm in line with what you're saying. As far as want to give a stat line for him, in the maybe 96 targets, let's say. I think they do go back towards, we were talking last offseason about him, and a lot of people, I know I talked with Dan Fates and the folks at Buffalo Plus, and they pulled my question up on their show before last year, and it's like, Kincaid's going to lead this team in targets. Well, now, that's kind of out the window, I think, in a lot of people's mind, and Shakir's the clear-cut one for that. But I think he does get up towards like 96 targets, and then from there, let's see, that's 21 more targets. Hopefully he can get like, I don't know, 70 catches. And then where's that leave him? About 725 yards. And let's see what he does in the end zone. Get to 4, get to 5 touchdowns. Can you take that step and score a few more touchdowns this year? I think with a few more games played, more targets, he does get there up around 5 touchdowns this year.
I also have him in a fantasy league, in a dynasty league, so I'm hoping he takes that step.
I picked up 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿 last year with that. When I drafted one of my leagues, I was like, man, I'm really kind of thin at getting a running back, but Cook was there. And I said, I know he hasn't scored touchdowns in his career, but I really hope this year is that big step. Boy, did that help me out a ton, because he took a huge jump. So I think Kincaid may not take that level going from like 2 touchdowns in a year to 18, but it's somewhere in the middle there to get up, 5 to 8 would be, not crazy to think, I believe.
But I think for him, the main thing is going to be targets for him and reception. I mean, he had 91 as a rookie, 91 targets as a rookie, like that. And he had 75 in 13 games. I was still second on the team by 28. Like that's, or 18. Sorry, I can't do math. Like 18 more targets, and he missed 3 games and actually 4 games, and he only started 9. Like, I do expect the targets to be back there. Like you said, like I had 80, 90. It might, like you said, maybe even more. I mean, he might even get 100 targets. You might have 2 guys with 100 targets this year, in both Shakir and Kincaid there. So that is the last thing that we actually do have here, which technically is the in and out, who's going to be on the team with our prediction of who's going to make it and the target here. So, I mean, I have mine written right in front of me here. I got it right here with who I got with the targets range. And so, how do you want to do one guy and we each say the target range we have?
Yeah, whatever. However you want to play it, I'm down for that.
Yeah. So first guy, we'll go with Khalil Shakir. For me, I have just between 110, 120. I think that's the range you should have him in, and I'm hoping that he's in that range. He had 100 last year. If he doesn't miss any games, again, this is if they don't miss any games, I do believe that he should be in that 110 to 120 range.
I had him between 120 and 125.
Yeah, and again, this is if their injuries are going to happen. Some of these guys are not going to reach this. So, yeah, I mean, he even missed 2 games last year as well, and he's only started 9 games last year. So he reached 100. So that's Shakir for me. Coleman is an interesting one. He had 57 last year. For me, I have him between 60 and 70. If you can still be in that 60, 70 range, it's kind of tough because I don't expect him to get up to 80. Like if he's up at 80, you're talking about one of the most improved receivers, I think, in the league if he gets up.
I hope he gets there. I mean, I hope that he has the ability to get there, but then it's how many times are they going to throw the ball? I just wrote down some numbers here in a spreadsheet, and I'm at like 535 targets, and I'm like, man, where do I take targets away? Because they're probably not going to throw, are they going to throw 535? We talked about the over-under number with what this offense is going to do. How many more targets are going to be available? Now, 99 targets were vacated from last year, and where are they going to make those up? Well, they got new guys coming in. You got to assume that Palmer, maybe a healthy Samuel, takes some of those off, and then Elijah Moore. So,
well, this is also, again, like we said earlier, too, this is the first year in 6 years that they were well under 540. Like, are they going to replicate that? Yeah, I don't think that I think that they will improve with how many times they pass, like we said earlier in the show, with just due to circumstances of scheduling, times that they're going to be in bad weather, less this year than maybe last year. So, yeah, I think that they do end up improving in that and getting towards that range of maybe 520, 540 in ish range. So it will go up. So, yeah, the targets from last year will seem a little bit skewed as well. The next guy I have here is Josh Palmer. What do you think for Josh Palmer when it comes to targets?
I'm in the 50 to, I'm in around the 50 range for targets. I'm just not sure. I mean, I say 50 out loud. And it's like, man, maybe that's light, but I just don't know. Again, like,
I mean, Matt Collins had 50 last year. So, like,
if you're, yeah,
I think he could play that role.
Around 50.
For me, I have around 60 just because I also have high expectations for Palmer. Like, I could realistically seeing Palmer get more targets than Coleman. I don't think it will happen, and I hope it doesn't happen because I want Coleman to take that step. But I just have very high expectations for Palmer this year just because I think he'll fit right into this offense, and I think they'll love him this year. So for me, I'm at that 60-ish mark, so a little bit more than you. But, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if it's 50. I wouldn't be shocked if it's 45. I mean,
and I wouldn't be opposed. Like, the reason why mine's 50 and yours 60 because I had Shakir at that 120 to 125. So if you take 10 away from Shakir that I had, give it to Palmer, I'm good. That's probably working out just well balanced.
Yeah. Next guy, I have the next two guys actually in a similar range, which is Samuel and Moore. So for me, I have them both around that 30 to 40, somewhere in there. One of them
I wrote down 44 for Samuel and 36 for Moore, so I'm right in that range with you.
Yeah, so I mean, again, maybe Moore comes out and shows out and he gets to 50, 60. That could really happen, but I just think both of them will be in that similar-ish range when it comes to that 30, 40. Maybe one of them gets well above 40. Maybe one of them stays more towards the high 20s. Like, I mean, Samuel last year, though, had 46 targets last year. Will it improve? I don't see it improving just because I think Palmer will take a lot more targets. But who knows? I mean, that's going to be a tough one there for them. The last guy I have here is Shavers. I have Shavers between like 10 and 15. Like, I think
I had him at 12. Yep.
Yeah, I think he makes the team, and I think they do like him. So I have him around 10 to 15. And then we got the tight ends here. So Kincaid. See, I had 80 here, but now as we've been talking, I do agree with you. I think that, yeah, maybe he does get between 90 and 100 here. Like, especially looking at us last year, I didn't realize his rookie year he had 91 targets. Like, I really didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to say that 90 to 100. I'm going to agree with you. I know you said 96 for him, so I got him in that similar range. And then Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox is a tough one because Dawson Knox last year had 33. I don't know if he reaches that. I have him at 25.
I had him at 31.
Yeah, again, it's something where it's like, unless Kincaid gets hurt, like Kincaid was hurt last year, so Knox had to have a little bit of a big role, and he had some games where he had 3, 4, or 5 targets for 2-3 game stretch. So Knox is a tough one, and I just have other. I just put other for the receiver, running backs, and I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I've got 81 targets to the running backs. I got 37 for Cook, 26 for Ty Johnson, and 18 for Ray Davis.
Yeah, I got 90 in total just because, again, I think maybe there'll be some random. I mean, even the tight end 3. I mean, I'm just kind of grouping him in there as well. So I have about 90.
Oh yeah, I literally have 89 for, if you count T3 and running backs.
Yeah, because Cook last year had 38, Ty Johnson at 25. I mean, does Ty Johnson's number go up? Like, this is where it gets tough. Is like, does Ty Johnson's number go up? Because they just signed him back, and
Yeah,
they
you
love
want
him.
everyone to go up, right? But it's like, man, well, there's only so many balls going out there. I mean, I don't know.
Does
You
Cook go
gotta-
down? Like, do they say, hey, Cook, we're
I
having
see that. I gotta
like-
see them using him. I gotta see that role go a little bit more.
Yeah. So I mean, it's tough. There's kind of our predictions there. We're both kind of in the same range with a lot, like most of these guys. Just some of us, we have a few more, but I mean, it's. I think the order is pretty set. You might be able to see some guys swapped. Like I could see Palmer and Coleman swapped. I could see Palmer and Moore or Samuel swapped. Like I could see them swapped, but I think Shakir is the number one for sure. And I think we both agree that Kincaid should be the number 2 leader in targets. I mean, it should come that way. And then when it comes to that 3-4 kind of range, that's when it will kind of be like, okay, there could be multiple guys in that 3-4-5 spot, even 6. So yeah. Let us know who you guys are excited to see and hope gets an improvement in targets this year. If you think somebody should get less, if you think somebody should get more, let us know who you guys are most excited about this year.
Yeah, and that's basically what we have. Oh, did we do who's gonna make it yet? Did we?
I kind of did that with who I had here. I mean, I think we both have the same exact list, actually.
Shakir, Coleman, Samuel, or Shakir's Coleman, Palmer. Let's put him third, I guess. Samuel, Moore, and Shavers, with Kincaid, Knox, and Hawes being the tight ends.
The big question will be, I do think they keep 6, but the big question will be is if that 6 will be Shavers, will it be Shenault? Will both of them make it instead of Samuel or Moore? Like that's the big
I have
question.
this inkling of Shenault, but I'm trying to all right, you have this just thought of, okay, Chenault's going to make this team. Why do you think that? And I cannot explain to myself enough to confidently say I think Chenault's going to make the team, because I wanted to say it, and he's the thought of him, the build and the skill set that he has. I love it all, but I just think that it's just he hasn't put it together, and I'm not sure he's going to be able to do it on this offense. So
Scott, okay, again, if anybody wants to go read the full article, Scott did drop an article today just called "A Look at the Bills 2025 Receiving Corps." He did drop it on BuiltBuffaloNews.com. I'm reading his right now. He does have 6 keeping the roster, and he has the top 3 that are locks: Shakir, Coleman, Palmer. He said the same thing about Moore and Samuel. He said it's hard to imagine them not making the roster. And then he said it's between, he said he sees Hamler has returnability. Shenault's more proven. Virgil and the Shavers are solid on special teams, as he said, from a coverage perspective, but do not have the returnability. He says, assuming the Bills decide to keep 6 receivers, he has Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Josh Palmer, Curtis Samuel, Elijah Moore, and he does have Laviska Shenault. So
yeah, but he's taking him for that special teams role. Yeah. And that's if he's on that special teams role, he will 100% make this team. I think that's a great thought. I just threw it up too and read that last paragraph that you mentioned. So guys, go out and check out BuiltInBuffaloNews.com and a look at the Bills 2025 receiving corps. That's there, man. And I think we're all on the same page here with our thoughts as far as Shenault goes. So specifically, obviously, you and I with our target rates, we'll have to try to get Scott to chime in privately and see if we can post these results of our thoughts and get them all in one place. But man, Shenault and Shavers, that's going to be a battle.
It is. It's going to be a fun one too, because those guys are, like we said, those two. I mean, Chenault's this is kind of his last shot here, and Shavers is again looking to make another mark like he did last year on this front office, and we both obviously think he will, and we'll see what happens, but it's going to be fun.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for tuning in to the Triple Coverage Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like and share if you're on the audio side. Thank you for listening. That audio will be out for those viewing live tomorrow on all audio platforms, wherever you get your audio podcast. Like we said before, please like and follow Built in Buffalo. Thank you to Monster Energy, the official energy partner of Built in Buffalo, Buffalo Billion Sports and more. great Facebook page. Frank Taberski's a great dude. Please go support him. He's trying to He's trying to get into another Josh Allen signing, which he brings some great Josh Allen helmets, all custom, nothing that you're going to get from the Bills store. So please check out Buffalo Bills Sports and More on Facebook. It's a Facebook page group. You can go join it, bid on some items. It's got a ton of signed items. You can message him privately for direct sales, but also you can bid like $14-20 and get a chance to win a nice signed mini helmet. He made this helmet over my shoulder here for us, and we're so grateful. You can see the great detail he puts into that. Buffalogo, go over to buffalogoco.com and check out all the great merch. They have partnerships with all sort of people, like Brother Bill. You'll see the hat over my shoulder that's eventually going to make it onto Ben's head we talk about each week, and all that stuff. So thank you to all our great partners. We hope to have some more exciting folks to announce and to talk about here as far as partners coming in the next month or so. And again, thanks to Dave Myers and Built in Buffalo, the whole crew, everyone that does what they do. Make sure you're supporting all the other podcasts and content creators here at this brand, and go Bills.
Go Bills.